Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie, and it's always a pleasure to have this gentleman on the program because he's a good man and a great commentator as well, and was a terrific football player at both Penn State and in the pros with the Miami Dolphins. The great O.J. McDuffie joined us here on the show. The Dolphins are fast as hell.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, if this guy McDaniel has this innovative kind of Bill Walsh extrapolation that also involves the running game, and these offensive weapons obviously fit the puzzle very, very well, it could be very interesting to see a team just outspeed other teams. Just curious if this was ever offered to you in any kind of promotional thing or charitable effort, because I was a big fan of when like a football player would race against a thoroughbred racehorse. Bullet Bob Hayes did it. I think he might have beat the horse. Skeets Nehemiah, who wow, where did he get his hands from? Nehemiah, was that?
Oh man, I don't know. For Roberto Duran, you got to put Roberto Duran.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
All right, on a beautiful Friday here in South Florida, kind of a getaway day for me. Welcome to the show. You look a little verklempt there, Lubie, but we've seen a lot of you in the beginning of the program here.
I erased our logo, and now I have to find the logo, so nice. It's some fun.
All right, well, you saw us staring into space here to begin the program if you tuned in a little bit early. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz with you.
I will figure
it out. Degenerate Friday is on tap here today, and it's a great day to be a degenerate. In fact, I'll be degenerating all weekend long in the beautiful city of New Orleans. Actually, I don't know. Is New Orleans a beautiful city, Lubie? It's kind of a dump.
Yeah.
That just has mass appeal. I mean, it really does. There are some historic places there. I mean, you go to the square and it's fantastic, and walking around Bourbon Street. But Bourbon Street it's kind of grungy, is it not, Mike Lubitz? So would you say grunge?
Definitely.
Much more so. I mean, it's not like you're walking into some pristine place. When you're walking around Venice, there's not even the slightest, not even a cigarette butt on the sidewalks. You got people just coming and picking up after everybody, and it's all waterways and everything like that. That would be more along the lines of pristine. New Orleans is really kind of a grungy place for guys. I mean, I don't even know if you need to shower when you're in New Orleans, but you just go there and consume food that will put you in some kind of diabetic coma, and or if you have, it's dangerous for me with the gout, right? Because the minute you get there, what are you going to do? You're going to dive in on a dozen oysters somewhere, either grilled or have them raw. And next thing you know, you're waking up the next morning going, man, what is this pain? And then you realize, it's a 4-letter word, man, G-O-U-T.
Yeah.
But I love it, and it's worth the sacrifice, and it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. So looking forward to that. That's happening later on today. Full-blown degenerate weekend on tap here for the DeForest family. My son Jesse's going to go, and his lovely wife Kelly. In fact, they may be en route right now. I think they had like a 7 a.m. or a 6-something flight. We're not going till tonight, and that is highly risky. Everything that you see kind of leads you to the idea that you should take the first flight out to whatever destination you're going to, and hope that that flight originates at the airport where you're taking off from, which you can do in Fort Lauderdale and Miami. Although Miami now has they're blocked up more than the Palmetto Expressway.
Yeah.
They still have that airline. What was that? Red Air. And it was nearly dead air, unfortunately, because of the 4 planes in this airline's fleet. They had one that didn't have any landing gear, which
God,
not good coming in from the Dominican Republic. Holy Sammy Sosa! He would have started speaking English quickly if that thing was his means of transportation to those congressional hearings. All right, good to be with you, Degenerate Friday, and it was a perfect thing. When is it going to happen that the leagues, all of these sports entities, Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, National Football League, I don't know, anybody that's operating a sporting venue there or a sporting platform is going to get sued by one of their partners, in this case, either DraftKings or FanDuel or maybe both. Because what happened yesterday with the NBA draft, there would be little interest in the NBA draft if, in the case here in South Florida, where your team really doesn't give a flying one about the draft. They have the 27th pick, and Lubie says they just threw it away. I thought they got Nikola Jokic, and I thought, wow. You got like the MVP? Unbelievable. And what with the 27th pick? But this was very much, in your opinion, Mike Lubitz, like the Martin Murasep draft, where I believe the Heat were picking 25th. This had to be sometime in the early 90s, very beginnings of the franchise. I want to say maybe mid 90s at the latest. And I remember I was covering a Miami Heat draft party, and it wasn't all that exciting. They might have had another pick in the first round, which is of some significance. But they used the 25th pick to acquire in a trade with the Utah Jazz the rights to Martin Murasep, who there was no video of. I mean, this was weird. I mean, the presentation was a little bit different than it was last night, where a guy gets drafted and they show some highlights, and you're thinking, wow, that guy looks great. Every team is excited. Hubie Brown was on the broadcast there, and there was no pick that just wasn't an absolute chess masterpiece. Can you believe this? I mean, Bobby Fischer, Boris Spassky never came up with moves like this. They're talking about each individual team's front office as they drafted guys, most of which were going to be inconsequential and never amount to too much as NBA players, become journeymen and end up playing in Europe. And Brown was just absolutely exuberant about every pick, jubilant. He couldn't believe how smart the people were that drafted the guy. And the kid's upside is tremendous. And I always loved that about the draft, just listening to the hyperbole that was coming out of the mouth of the 90-year-old Hubie Brown, who you respect his basketball opinion. So you're thinking, okay, but he obviously hadn't watched a single college game. And I don't know, did they just give him like one script to read and he just put the different name in there and go, oh, my God, this is the greatest pick I've ever seen.
That's pretty much.
It was fantastic. But we're in there without really a dog in the fight, as they say. Not to get into the whole Michael Vick thing again, but there's really nothing happening with the Heat as far as draft picks go. We know that Pat Riley doesn't care that much about draft picks, although recently he's prospered in that he did pick up Bam Adebayo. Still, somewhat, would you say he's a little bit enigmatic, Bam Adebayo? I mean, a great guy, seems to have that Heat culture thing working. You can smell the Heat culture on this kid. Right? Going to work his ass off, going to be a great team player, going to do anything he can to help the team win. Worships at the feet of Pat Riley, and, anything Spoelstra asks him to do, he's going to do. Seems like a perfect fit for any team. You would want this guy, Bam Adebayo, on your team, but there seem to still be the old question mark of the Mysterians when it comes to is he ever going to be that super elite type of player? You don't necessarily expect to get that, in the mid section of the first round of the draft. What was he, like a 13th, 14th pick, Bam Adebayo? So, you're lucky if you get a guy that can be that good at that stage of the NBA draft. Usually there's only a handful of guys that you look at and you say, wow, all of those guys are going to be excellent. And out of those, maybe 50% make it. But I like Adebayo. I think he's going to be fine. I don't know. I mean, there's been this debate about whether he's too passive on offense sometimes and more of a facilitator than a guy that looks to score himself and needs to get more aggressive on the offensive end inside. That's possible. I think he can probably overcome whatever it is that's impeding him from satisfying people in that regard. And there have been times when you looked at Adebayo and say, come on, Bam. I mean, you should dominate this game.
Yes.
And, he's, up at the top of the key there, passing the ball off as soon as he gets it or holding it for a while, never even looking at the basket. And you would like to see him kind of shake that out of his game. Tyler Hero is another story. I think Tyler Hero is excellent. I really do.
Yeah.
He had a good, promising first year, slumped a little bit in his second year, and you thought, women weaken legs. But the kid's like 20 years old. He had 1 year of experience. He's in a really a situation where it's not like he's with the Sacramento Kings where nobody cares. Or maybe to a lesser extent, I don't know, the Orlando Magic. It seems like the organization cares, but they haven't done any good in a long, long time. And nobody wants to stay there. But he's in Miami. Perfect place for a guy like Tyler Hero. The crowd loves the kid.
Yep.
And he really turned everybody on with his play in the first year. Second year was And then this last year, he wins Sixth Man of the Year. He was great in the regular season, but a little bit of a vanishing act in the playoffs. Did not really distinguish himself as that clutch player that everybody's looking for. It wasn't like you were looking at the second coming of Jerry West in that regard. Although after seeing West and the portrayal of West in Winning Time, nobody would want to be the second coming of Jerry West.
You don't want West.
Jerry West doesn't even want to be Jerry West anymore. He's probably going to change his name, like that poor lady that was in the Capitol, January 6th insurrection hearings, who said she doesn't even like to mention her name anymore because she is the scourge of Georgia. After old Donnie Boy decided, to get into a snit because he actually lost the election by 2 million votes, which is never mentioned, by the way. Have you noticed that?
Exactly.
All we need is to find 11,374 votes. That's on tape, for God's sake. This stuff was wild again yesterday. It's hard to get away from it. It really is, because you're looking at it going, how ridiculous is this? And yet there'll be a majority of people that in 2024, when Trump rolls out the Trump card again and says, I'm going to run for president, will say, you know what, Donnie, you did a great job. Every piece of criminal activity in open defiance of every tenet of the Constitution was violated by you, your family, and all of the people that surrounded you, the sycophants that were too afraid to stand up to you. And thank goodness that there are some honorable people in the United States of America in government. Otherwise, who knows what the hell would have happened there?
Exactly.
I mean, we would have ended up being Venezuela at that point. Unbelievable. But anyway, that was a whole nother sidebar there. Eclipsed, of course, in importance by our takes on the NBA draft. All right, so all day long, I mentioned this yesterday on the show that Banchero was like plus 275 to be the number one pick. Plus 275, which would be okay if he was the favorite, but the favorite was minus 300. Jabari Smith, everybody was convinced, and I don't know, did the Magic put that out there? That they already had pretty much come close to a deal with Jabari Smith, that it was a given. Jabari Smith. And, that seemed logical, didn't it? You're saying of the top three guys that were being bannered about, Holmgren, who went number 2, and, of course, Banchero ended up going number 1 to the Orlando Magic, and Jabari Smith goes number 3 to the Houston Rockets, which is that tantamount to being sent to basketball purgatory now? No disrespect to that Fertitta guy who, let's face it, in our opinion, remains an asshole and always will be. Couldn't root against the franchise any more than the one. Is it Tillman? Is that his first name? Tillman Fertitta?
Yes. Rockets. Yeah. It's Tillman, yes.
What an adversarial interview we had with that guy. That was ugly. I mean, thrown for a loop right away as I tried to pay the guy a left-handed compliment. Just to get him into the conversation a little bit. And he immediately pulled back, took exception to what I said. And essentially, he didn't even want to talk about his own book anymore. He should have just hung up the phone, right? Wouldn't that have been the appropriate move? Like, hey, listen, DeForest, you're a jerk. And should have got the old hang up on that thing. And I don't think we're too tough on our interview subjects. We generally invite people on the show that we would like to talk to. Every now and then you're going to get a controversial figure, and you may have to, throw that stuff out there. It's not like you want to soft soap it. It's not like one of these things where we're going to, interview Adolf Hitler, which was always a theory of mine that certain interviewers might have Adolf Hitler on the show and go, hey, Adolf, good to have you on the program. You got a bad rap with the Jews. It's kind of marginalizing something that, should obviously never even be, never disparaged in any way. But nonetheless, there are certain people like that, right? Where, we used to talk about our buddy Hank. And, he had that whole thing where he was attacking Bud Selig. And, this happens once in a while where somebody that you've been absolutely openly attacking somehow ends up on your show. I'm trying to think.
What do you mean? It's happened a million times with us. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We never openly attack someone mean, but
no, we mean no harm to anybody, and we don't mean to be overly, defamatory or inflaming, people to not like somebody. We did talk about the curse of Rachel Nichols. Did we have her on the show?
No.
No.
But
okay.
There's two that come to my mind. First, Mick Hubert was one.
Oh, Hubert, yeah.
That we
I never did like Hubert.
But we would mock him because his homerism, before we talked to him and realized he's like a sweetheart, was as homerific gets. So you would do the homage, we would play the sound.
Oh, my. Can you believe that?
And then we had him on, and he was like really nice. And I was like, dang, he's like really nice. And he would come on whenever we wanted.
But I had great respect for Hubert's announcing because I believe he was perfect for what he was doing with the Florida Gators.
He did a good job. But we'd go after him. Like we would joke, and we weren't being mean, and that's why we didn't feel guilty.
He did a good, accurate call. Also, he was very accurate in what he said about the game as it was going on.
Mick, and then we did it with Rinaldi too. You loved the Rinaldis.
Rinaldi, yeah.
That's why we called it doing a Rinaldi, because we liked it, but we also made fun of it. Like, it would be like the most ridiculous
even he made
thing.
fun of it.
Yes. And then we have Rinaldi, and exactly. That was
a young boy accepting a challenge.
Exactly.
Come on, Tom. But then he would do it himself. I mean, Rinaldi doing Rinaldi was one of the all-time classics here on the show. Anybody, anyway, a lot of people did an about face. Now, here's the thing. Here's the rub, and this relates to degeneracy here, where, look, okay, so if you knew for a fact that you were in the Orlando Magic front office, do you think the Magic set this up? Okay, because they're living in a miserable city there, a shithole of a town, Orlando, Florida. Nobody wants to go there. Nobody. A friend of ours just recently moved there, and we read her last rites as like a yard site candle for her just yesterday, because she moved to Orlando on Saturday last week, and you're thinking, that's it. Won't be seeing her around here no more. Now, you would think people would come back, but it becomes prohibitive, right, to move back to an area that you moved out of, because it was getting like too expensive for your budget, and you decided, hey, I've had enough of this. I'm going to go somewhere where I can live well within my means at the same sort of level. But unfortunately, you don't have anything, including an ocean in Orlando.
Yeah, exactly.
For my money, and it's funny because I was doing my walk of life. Now, I walk up A1A, which is right along the ocean, but it's not actually on the beach. For some reason, well, I mean, it was that knee surgery that reminded me that maybe that's not the best thing for the knees there, is to walk into suction cup like sand and go a long distance every day, and you're just tearing yourself up. Now, if it's hard as a rock there, like it is in Daytona, where you can drive your car on a beach, that's a whole nother thing. But, I'm walking by the ocean at least, and you can feel the difference, right, in the air and the atmosphere, and just the way that, the vibe that you get from a physical standpoint by being near the Atlantic Ocean in this case. We're here on the East Coast. But if you're living in Florida, what would be the point, unless you're living somewhere within a reasonable distance of the beach and the ocean? Why would you want to live in the middle of a state where it's 100 degrees every day with mosquitoes the size of clincher softballs? Hey, you're going to throw that thing? Oh, no, it's just a bug? Okay. Where you literally have to buy protection for your car because you're going to, have that engine's going to ingest so many bugs that it's likely to stop somewhere, around Kissimmee and or Yeehaw Junction, which is one of my favorite towns in the state of Florida. But what would be the point of living here without being near the ocean? So Orlando already becomes somewhat of basketball purgatory, does it not? And it's a real big tease, too, because if you're with the Heat, everybody knows who you are.
Yep.
There's a picture of Pat Riley in the stands, and next thing you know, there's a shot of Tyler Hero, and he's making a three. He does that in Orlando. What are you looking at? Mickey Mouse? I don't know. Old pictures of Walt? Talking about Disney, not Hazard. So, I mean, not a great distinction to be drafted by the Orlando Magic. And Jabari Smith, because they had talked about him being the number one pick as a certainty, the odds posted by like FanDuel and DraftKings, you had to lay 300 to win 100 on Jabari Smith to be the number one overall pick. But it was a foregone conclusion. It was happening. Your man Woj was touting this. Woj.
Yep.
All right, so I'm looking at this yesterday, and I have to give credit to the Brent Musburger, if this is still the same organization, which I'm not sure. So
I don't think it is. VSIN still exists. Like the show he does is attached to the VSIN network. Like, or their network. They air VSIN network shows.
All right.
I think VSIN still exists as its own thing.
It could. I don't know. Anyway, the Post carries handicapping from a thing called Action Sports now, which I thought maybe I thought I saw somewhere, read somewhere, that VSIN, the Vegas Sports Information Network, which was started by Musburger, he's one of the fundamental elements of that whole thing. And we had the Bury America campaign because we used to read every day the handicapping that he would put out, and it wasn't Musburger personally, but sometimes it was. And, Musburger is, a stone degenerate, and we love that aspect of it. Everybody loved it when he would make those allusions to the over-under. Al Michaels kind of stole that, I think, and became known for it. But he has borrowed material before, and I believe he got that from Musburger. Because nobody was happier when Jimmy was running up to score, And Ara Parsegian was calling a game with Musburger, Notre Dame, Miami, when Jerry Faust lost to Miami and Jimmy Johnson like 55-3.
Yeah.
And there were 3 minutes to go in the game, and Jimmy had all his starters in there. Gino Auriemma was on the sidelines. And Jimmy's, throwing bombs with like no time left in the game. While Faust is literally eating like cow manure on the sidelines there, realizing that his days at Notre Dame are just absolutely in minuscule numbered. I mean, there's just no way. And he just kept rubbing it in. And Musburger's like, yeah, Jimmy, way to go. While Parsegian is talking about the fact that this is a disgrace, which was a real, piece of hypocrisy, was it not? Because, how many times did Ara Parsegian run up to score on Iowa Tech as Notre Dame opened up the season with their homecoming game in front of their adoring fans, hundreds of thousands following them everywhere that they went. Unbelievable. And the final here is 77-3. I tell you what, Iowa Tech really put up a battle there early in the ball game. And then Aaron and the boys really pulled it out. They threw the ball 100 times in the second half. they did the same number on everybody, and the guy couldn't stand it when it happened.
Exactly.
It's kind of like the bully getting bullied. Yep. All of a sudden, the guy's not such a tough guy anymore. Hey, mommy. But Parsegian was crying in the booth, and Musburger was just absolutely, exhilarated by the fact that Jimmy, because he wasn't going to allow any points to Notre Dame in that game, was going to score 55 himself. Clear cut from like the third quarter on, and Musburger had the over in the ball game and was figuring that the game was going to at least be competitive, maybe like 37-30. He's probably got it at 55. So he needed Miami to score all of those points. And while one guy is celebrating, the other guy is torn to bits and ready to, contemplate maybe ending his life right there in the middle of the fourth quarter. Ara Parsegian. So anyway, we know that Musburger has degenerate tendencies, and I'd seen him at the track a few times, and he was always, very approachable there, and I seemed to just be having a good time. He had his cowboy hat on, and this was at the height of his career as a play-by-play announcer. And, when he was, and this happens a lot with different people that have celebrity status, where you see them in an environment where they're very comfortable, like a racetrack, which is kind of, obviously there are women there, but it always struck me as being like a giant men's social club, where the best part about it was, that there was no real admission fee to the club.
Yep.
B, you had a lot of friends there that you could relate to at the track, but you never had to see them in any other capacity or walk of life. It was just strictly when you showed up there, right? It was kind of like you showed up at the Turkish Baths or something, right?
I love how you phrase it. You never had to. Like, it's not that, you don't always see them. It was, thank God you only see them there.
That's it. That's the only place you want to know most.
You want to see them.
And I'm sure they felt the same way about me. Like, DeForest, what an asshole he is. But, at the track, he's a lot of fun because he's always yelling and screaming about how he just got fucked.
That's classic.
Which is a common theme, and an easily shareable emotion.
Exactly.
Getting fucked on a bet. But you would have been destroyed if you bought into this.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it is a little ridiculous to be making this wager anyway. It was not, no matter how sick, no matter how low on the degenerate totem pole you happen to be, no matter how marginal your barometers are and your parameters are for betting on stuff that would normally be unthinkable, like back in the day, where, you used to just bet whether a team would win a game or not. Mm-hmm. Now you're betting whether so-and-so is going to have 19.5 or more points, and whether this guy's going to make 4 threes, and who's going to shoot the first free throw?
Oh my God, I saw it last night, and because the handicapping thing, they have the shows everywhere now, and Bally Sports at Landlubbers, they'll show Bally Sports when the Marlins or Panthers aren't playing, so it's a national show, and they do a lot of handicapping. So they were handicapping all sports, and I didn't even know there was that many sports going on right now, so I give them credit. They're like, total bases for Christian Yelich, and it was like 1 and a hook. I'm like, I don't even know what to do with that. I'm like,
if he gets a double, you win.
Yeah, I'm like, if he gets on base at all, you're almost break even. Like, I'm like, what is going to push? I'm like, how do you?
All you need is a bunt single and a walk, and you get the over.
Like, if he goes 2 for
Yelich.
2, you're killing it. Like,
of course, he goes 0 for 5 that night with 5 strikeouts.
Yeah, exactly.
If you took the over.
It's like, how specific is that?
Hits for the cycle, yeah. Can you bet for a guy to hit the cycle? I mean, that would be enormous odds. That would be like hitting a pick 6.
Exactly.
It's happened a couple of times, I think, already this year, which, it's somewhat of a rarity. I mean, one of the oddest things about the Marlins franchise is that they've never had a guy hit for the cycle. Now, that was true of the Mets, where they never had a no-hitter until Santana got that bogus no-hitter many years ago, and now they have that combined no-hitter. But imagine with the great pitching the Mets have had. I mean, they had Seaver, they had Doc Gooden, they had Jerry Koosman.
Yep.
So many great pitchers that they had. I mean, like upper echelon, top-notch Hall of Fame guys, and never had the no-hitter, which was really, really weird. And then Santana, I mean, what was up with instant replay in that game where the ball, clearly was like...
They didn't have it, remember? They didn't have it yet. Baseball was like one of the last people to like use replay.
Wouldn't want to get the call right, would you? I mean, what would be the point of that? I always love when they go into the former officials. Steve Javie was the guy during the playoffs, right? Steve Javie, the former NBA referee.
He sucked.
and they never have anything to say. They shed zero light on the situation. They had Koharski, who was a former hockey referee and known for that infamous incident where the Flyers coach at the time was screaming, "Have another donut, Koharski, you fat pig." Yeah, I mean, unhappy, obviously, with one of the calls during the game. Now, hockey coaches have every right to get upset. This John Cooper guy, man, I don't know. Does he peel himself off the mat after that defeat in overtime? 6 men on the ice, Lubie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That was interesting, and we barely talked about that yesterday. It's so funny, but like my favorite is hockey person defending that no call, and it's like
a no call being defended for an atrocious miss.
Yeah, it was like it wasn't like you'll see the guy getting off and there's 1 foot on. It's like okay, like that would be annoying to call.
Oh, he's standing in front of the goal. This guy.
He was playing. Like they had
he had the goalie in a headlock. I mean, he really did.
It was like
Vasilevsky. He's got him in a rear naked choke or whatever that is. Which is my favorite move in all of sports, the rear naked choke. What happened to the arm bar? Do people use that anymore, or was that just exclusive to Ronda Rousey? I'm not sure.
No idea.
The arm bar? Because you never see that move in MMA. I was watching some MMA last night. I still don't get it.
I can tell.
No, I was. I mean, there are a few MMA, performers that if I see that they're fighting and I can watch it without having to pay a fee, I'm willing to watch like that Chris Cyborg. She's such a monster that, and I don't know if she's as good as she was.
She's still fighting?
Yes. I think she's a Bellator champion or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And Bellator kind of evolved to, I don't know, it's not really the equivalent of the UFC, but certainly rose in stature, did it not, from the time? Remember we were doing some stuff with those guys when they first came out?
Yeah.
And, of course, we dropped out of that thinking they were never going to make it. But
Exactly.
opportunities to host shows, play-by-play.
Yeah,
no, we didn't have any of that. Yeah. But it was the same stuff for me. I mean, once again, there's a takedown early in the round, a 5-minute round, and then they lay on the floor for 4.5 minutes, and then finally the bell rings and they get up.
Yep.
And, the announcers are going crazy while nothing's happening. Oh, my God, can you believe this? The judo, the jiu-jitsu, the wrestling, the Brazilian Thai Fu or whatever it is, Tofu. I don't even know what they call this stuff. I mean, but how do you identify that? It's just like one guy laying on top of another guy, like when 2 fat guys would fight back in the days in Brooklyn, and, the fatter guy would get the edge and just lay on a guy until they broke it up. I guess it's worth paying to see.
That's what happens.
All right, so I thought about doing this, but I didn't believe it to be true because I was so convinced by the stuff that I read that the Orlando Magic had decided and may have even signed a contract already with Jabari Smith.
Exactly.
And then I'm sitting with the chess man after getting blown off the tennis courts last night by this kid. My God, he's hitting the ball like Roger Federer. It's unreal. I mean, wicked cross-court forehands. I mean, just whistling right by the old man there. And I'm like, you're going to keep this up, kid? You're going to let me score a point.
You're getting bitter.
Well, why don't you just whiff on one on purpose so I don't feel like a completely shot fighter out here. I got you into the game. I bought you your racket.
You want him to tank it? You want him to tank it?
I need him to tank it. I'm just getting blown out every set.
He's taking it serious now. He's actually proud of himself. He's gotten good. And you're like, screw you.
I want him to quit the game. That's, I can't shoot hoops anymore, so that's out. I don't know. There's nothing I could beat him at if I can't beat him at tennis. So that's over. That whole situation has switched, much like the number one and 2 picks.
Exactly.
Because then the Smith doesn't even go second, right? So
Nope.
I don't know. Double the agony for a lot of people. That would you have laid 300 if you knew for certain, like some guy in the Orlando Magic organization, told you, hey, look, we have a deal with this guy, so we're going to take him. It's kind of like when Footy knew about the halftime song that Katy Perry was going to do at the Super Bowl.
Yep.
All right. Is it a guarantee? Absolute 100% certainty? Nope. No, but damn close, right? I mean, that one was because, you're probably going to rehearse the way that you play. You're going to practice the way that you play.
Yes.
Or you're going to play the way that you practice. Yeah, that would be the cliche that was applied there. Yeah, you know what? You play the way you practice.
That's the saying, yes.
Practice? Okay, so the practice here would have been to follow the logic and the wisdom and everything that was being written said about this, that Smith was going to be number one. Lay 300 to win 100, lay 3,000 to win 1,000, lay 30,000 if you're Sheldon G to win 10,000. Sheldon G, I mean, if he knew this, and assumed that it was fact, I might have laid 300,000 to win 100. It's like they're giving you money.
Yes.
Okay, so what happens? FanDuel and DraftKings, they get buried by the Orlando Magic last night. Yes. Buried. Yes. Now, did Adam Silver look a little nervous? He looked a little pale to me because I think when he made that announcement, he realized he was screwing his partners. Correct? They had taken, I don't know how many people would have been inclined to throw the, 3-1 odds in reverse, right? You're basically, going into a 1-3 shot by taking Jabari Smith. But, and can you really be convinced that the people that are writing about this in the newspaper know exactly what they're talking? Where was this coming from, Lubie? Where was this coming from?
That's a great question.
This whole idea. Because, in the NFL draft, they've already got Burrow signed, right?
Yeah.
The number one pick.
They'll sign, especially when it's quarterbacks, they'll sign them before the draft.
Yeah. It's like, hey, what's it going to take there, Joe? Huh?
Yeah. You're not wrong. Yeah, it's funny because even when it was understood that, John Morant could have been the number one pick, you were going to take Zion, he still was not signed until like that night. He wasn't announced. That's true. The NFL is, I think, the only one that does it like that, where like you can.
The hype around Zion, I think, precluded the Pelicans from taking Jean Morant also.
Yeah.
Don't you believe that? I mean, look, nobody really knew that Morant was going to turn into what he has as a pro. I mean, as great as he might have been as a collegian, it was hard to envision this.
Yeah.
And Zion Williamson, when you were watching him as a collegian, you thought, wow, this kid loves the game. He's a lot of fun. He's got that compelling personality, even though he doesn't say much. Everybody really enjoyed watching him play. He was an entertaining player who played very well and dominated the college game. And what they didn't realize was, New Orleans is probably the last place that this guy should be.
Exactly.
No? It's not like red beans and rice is going to help you get in shape to go 82 games in the NBA, is it?
Oh, my God.
You have to be
fried
careful.
Oysters.
Right. You have to be careful. Just the fact that I'm going there, I already looked in the mirror today, this morning, and while shaving said to myself, be careful there.
Exactly.
Be careful. You want to eat everything. You want to eat everything. And you can't do it. At 71, you can't do it. I'm telling you.
No one can. Only Mike Mayo. Mike Mayo is the only one that can somehow eat at every restaurant because he eats 7 places a day.
There's a price to pay for that.
Well, duh.
There is. Yeah.
A lot of prices.
Yeah. I mean, the years keep mounting up, and if the pounds keep mounting up, you're putting yourself in a very precarious position. Long term, right? Because even if you do drop the weight later on, the damage is already done. It's kind of like, do I regret doing all that blow in the early 80s? Of course. I don't know how I'm still alive. I really don't. But the heart can't. I mean, when I recently, I guess it was a couple of years ago, I had to go to see this heart doctor, and because I was having that knee surgery. So that was like 2019.
Yeah,
and they saw something on one of these graphs, and they said, "Oh no, we can't do the surgery. You got to go see this guy and that guy." And I don't know, is that just a racket? They send you around the horn there to like 1 million doctors.
I'm hoping not.
They probably, they look at your insurance card and go, Medicare? Okay, here's what you got to do. You got to see my buddy Joe over there at Holy Cross, and then you got to go to Baptist Central.
Got to see my buddy.
Like every Catholic hospital.
Oh,
all right.
God.
It's, you're not going to Mount Sinai there. I mean, you're going to like every Catholic hospital that you can find, and they're sending you to a million specialists. But the guy told me, actually, after like all of this examination, he said, your heart's in perfect shape. I said, that's a miracle. I didn't want to
That's a
admit
miracle.
why.
That's a miracle.
No, it is. It's a fucking miracle. I mean,
You heard that.
I immediately signed on to donate all of my organs to science.
Exactly. You're like, here, thank you.
I pretty much have lived by the Burt Sugar credo, which is I'd rather be a good liver than have a good liver. And maybe one of the greatest lines philosophically ever spoken. I mean, you could have, Sartre and Nietzsche and all of these philosophical pundits, but nothing better than that. I'd rather be a good liver than have a good liver. Burt Randolph Sugar, may he rest in peace. So what happened to Sandy, man? Is that guy still around? Sandy? I like Sandy.
He doesn't scream to me as internet guy. So that's really how a lot of people have found us is via promoting on social sites, and that's all internet based. Sandy, not only from what we talked when we finally met him, it explained a lot for where his opinions come from. And it said a lot about probably how he lives. So
he was like a turkey hunter guide.
And he looked like
I trained. No, he did. He looked like some guy that could have been in the woods. He
looks like he lives in the Everglades.
Period of time. Yeah,
he lives in the Everglades. Like that's what he looked like. And not to be mean, that's what he looked like. And he owned it. He's like, yeah, that's how I want to look.
It's like when those guys, were seeking out Rambo to help guide them to try and save these children. Ended up getting annihilated instead. But and they're like, where's he live? Like has a legendary status, and the guy doesn't even mention his name. He just goes over there. Right, and you're looking, going over there. It's just like a tree house over there. What are you talking about? That's where he lives.
So I presume Sandy hasn't found us.
No, he was a reputable guy. I really enjoyed him.
I loved him.
He was very knowledgeable about sports and very opinionated. And he unfortunately did not like. I mean, one of the things I never figured out about this guy is how could you not like Burt Sugar?
Everyone loves Sugar.
He's fantastic, man. Just a great, great guy. I definitely miss this guy. I don't know that Sugar would have been on Banchero last night. So what do you think? Does the NBA get sued by FanDuel? Because your Orlando Magic put this bullshit out that they were taking Jabari Smith and had a deal signed with him. And then took another guy where they had to pay out almost 3-1, plus 275 if you made that bet that morning. And the Action Sports guy actually said that the best value that you could possibly get right now is to take Banchero at plus 275 because to be the number one overall pick, because to lay 300 to win 100 on Jabari Smith. If you really believe that he was going to be the number one pick, then you're not going to do that probably. I mean, just for the off chance of what happened, which is that they had you zamboozled.
Yep.
That this was going to be the selection there. So what did Wojnarowski, is that his actual last name, Wojnarowski?
Wojnarowski, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, Woj, as he's known, and he's the number one guy. There's another number one guy though, a young kid that came from some other organization.
Shams is good too. Shams Charania. Yeah, another guy that's really up there. He's just not. It's like Woj. And then Shams.
I mean, and they're making zillions of dollars for making these predictions. So how do you feel when you predicted that the Titanic was the safest ship
exactly
that anybody could ever cruise on? When you were better off on that Sun Cruise ship that was about to sink because this mob was about to whack the owner there, the Greek guy. Who was that guy again? That was the owner of the Sun Cruise, and he started Miami Subs also. He got whacked in his Mercedes-Benz one night, and remember I told you that story a few times, Lubie, about Gus Boulos. What was his name? Gus Boulos.
Yes,
remember this guy? Gus Boulos, yeah. And, it happened that they had the bookie joint, speaking of degenerates, they had a sports book on a ship, which was, I mean, imagine now, zero of a big deal. But then it was like, whoa, we can go out on the ship and bet some games and watch them and actually, bet and collect right there. This is great. It's like Vegas on the water. So they had that. It was very short-lived. And the Polyman and I went out, and Polyman liked the game, and we won the game. And they told us that they couldn't pay us because we were back inside the 3-mile limit, that we would have to come out on a subsequent trip to get our money. Now, the bad news there is you can't just blow it off because you laid out the money. Yep. So I think we had like 200 to win 400 or something. So, we naturally wanted to go and collect this $600 because 200 of it was ours to begin with. Okay. So we win the game. We come back in, and that night I'm watching the Channel 7 News, I think it was. Like, came on at 10 o'clock, came on earlier than the other channels. Just arbitrarily, I was doing the same morning drive thing. This was a Sunday night. And I see the guys that had the sports book that we made the bet with being taken away in handcuffs with jackets over their heads. And they had shut down the sports book. So I'm thinking, wow, I mean, that's as big a screwing as I've ever experienced, right? Where you finally win a game. And there goes, it's not the bookie that you owe money to. It's the guys that owe you money. And the thing only was up and running for like 2 days when he shut it down. So I have a friend who was he was doing stats for a long time, and he may still be doing it for the Miami Heat and a lot of teams in town. He was like a really, really accomplished statistician and very, very highly regarded by all of the teams for his work. And he was dealing blackjack on the ship, the Sun Cruise. So I told him the story about how I got screwed here, and he said, you know what, I might be able to help you because I know Gus Boulis is going to be on the ship on like Tuesday night, so why don't you come out Tuesday? I'll introduce you to Gus, tell him the story. He'll probably try to do something to, help you get your money. So sure enough, I go on the ship. Now, I'm probably going to lose another 300 just for being out there. And this was the only purpose I went out there was to collect this money, which is a dumb move sometimes if you're a degenerate. So the guy introduces me to Gus Boulis, or he's about to, and Boulis is in the most heated discussion I have ever seen with a bunch of guys that look like they literally just flew in from Russia that day. Okay,
so Russian, not Italian, like Russian mob.
Russian mob, yeah. Not the kind of guys you really want to mess with there.
No. I mean, mob is
These
mob.
are like ex-KGBers.
Yeah.
Really, they would stop at nothing. They would slaughter you right in front of the people there and then they walk away. They would have like, a submarine pick them up so they were never found again. So anyway, I figured like it's a bad time to, approach Gus about my $600. And... he walked away from that, and I sat down. I was just screwing around, and sure enough, later on, my buddy comes and hands me 6 black chips. And
nice.
I told him your story, and he just said, "Hey, listen, just give the guy the money, right?"
Nice.
2 days later, he was whacked in his car.
Of course he was.
And I was thinking, what the hell were they talking about, man?
Well, now.
But money you promised us? Yeah, I mean, there had to be some, some paper that wasn't being honored there by Gus Boulis or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I mean, and they finally, I don't know, that case lingered forever. I think they convicted a couple of guys who, I don't even know if they were Russian mobsters. The guys that did the actual murder of Boulis were, a couple of, I think they might have been like mobsters from New York or something.
I would assume.
Kind of, that for a long time they couldn't figure out what the hell happened there, and I think they were just recently convicted. But I mean, what are the odds of that, right? Here's DeForest looking for $600, and you're going to bust in on this meeting where they're going to kill the guy because they don't like what he has to say. Always tough. But it never works that way, does it? Where your bookie checks out while you owe him like 10.
Yeah, exactly. It's the other way. It's the bookie
always the other way,
checks
right?
out that owes you.
What do you mean he had a heart attack? He's in Guam? You have to be. What's Louis doing in Guam? All right. Anyway, what do you think? Lawsuit coming from the FanDuel people to the NBA? Adam Silver? Maybe we don't. Something happens to him. Huh? He might be getting treated by Navalny, like Navalny in Russia. By these gambling partners after that screw job yesterday, huh?
Yep.
Where they ended up having to pay out plus 275. Although maybe nobody believed it, right? And didn't even take up the possibility. Did you think in any way that Banchero was numero uno, Banchero?
No. I mean, talking to people who watch college basketball, the professor who's massively into it said there's no way. Like, he's like, of the 3 guys that were expected to be at the top, he has the highest potential to be a bust. Like, that's what Ken said repeatedly. And then I heard that all day yesterday. Like, I heard that from everyone that were like, yeah, Banchero's fine, but he's not Jabari Smith.
You think it's tainted a little bit, though? The professor's usually very solid opinion on all of this stuff, but the fact that he went to Duke, does that shed like kind of a darker light on this guy? If they're
I'm trying to think of if he's
a little shady,
that credit. Maybe because he never liked any of the Duke.
And then we had watched Jay Billis last night. The endless comments from Jay Billis.
I mean, my favorite.
Give me Hubie, man. Hubie from the grave still blows away Jay Billis as a commentator on this stuff. Just too sanctimonious and condescending, isn't he? Well, this guy.
When he's wrong all the time. My favorite.
You averaged 4 points a game for Duke, for 4 years, and you claim the championship was won by you. Unbelievable.
Well, that's
that documentary he made about himself. That was a crime, man. That's like something Donald Trump would do.
Well, hasn't he? I believe he sort of has.
All right, I hope you guys cashed on the Banchero thing. That was the message here for the last
45 minutes.
45 minutes of the show. Big board's coming up with the professor.
Yes,
it's a Degenerate Friday. I'm looking at a few things. Is tonight the end for the Tampa Bay Lightning and their 2-year reign
as
Stanley Cup champions?
I do hope so. Yeah, I start growing to despise them.
I want them to win this game tonight. I don't think they will, but I want them to.
Of course you do.
Right?
It's like Boston South.
I like the Lightning.
I know you do. You like
this
Boston.
whole thing with Tampa. I mean, you can have Ybor City. I'd much rather be where we were the other night there with Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet.
Well, obviously.
And, on Atlantic Avenue in Delray. Not even our first tier go-to place.
Oh, no, that's how sucky the central part of the state is. Like,
right.
Orlando and Tampa are cities. It's not Loxahatchee or Pensacola.
So some old Cuban guy is rolling a cigar down there, and you're like, wow, look at that. That's history, right?
Yeah, it's not here.
You get yourself a sandwich, and you're out of it. Freddie Pacheco loved it. Ybor City was his favorite. What do we have, too? And a professor might be on this, huh? Is he still betting USFL?
Oh, I don't know.
A bunch of USFL games here on the slate. A lot of baseball, including Los Marlins, who are favored over the Mets tonight.
Have they won 3 in a row? They won 3 in a row, right? Or is it more?
They swept the Colorado Rockies, yes. That was good after that absolute horseshit performance in New York. They must have – is Alcantara?
Yes, 3 in a row.
That would be the only thing I could imagine here. Let me see. Mets. Oh, they would be the top draw here.
I don't have it.
Oh, Alcantara.
Yes, Alcantara. Yep.
You know, Alcantara, speaking of future odds and prop bets, Alcantara is the favorite to win the National League Cy Young Award right now. And you're getting like 3-1. Yeah, 3-1 on Alcantara if you bet him to win the Cy Young.
Yeah,
if he can sustain this, how does he not?
The problem is, how can you sustain it with this team?
Yeah.
The bullpen sucks, and
can you? Can you win the Cy Young if you're 7-14?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, DeGrom did. DeGrom was like 10-15, but DeGrom had like a .98. Like, you have to have some ridiculous.
Right. With 8,000 strikeouts.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Alcantara's having a good year. He's not having like Nolan Ryan. You
usually wouldn't see a Marlin getting that kind of consideration. And by the way, I don't know. What is it? That show on HBO? It's two black guys, and it's like Jesus and Mario.
Oh yeah, Jesus and Miro.
Okay, they had Jeter on last night. Jeter, and you would not have known it was Jeter.
Because they're New York guys, so he might have been fun with them.
He was laughing. I mean, he didn't say much, but he's having a great time, and you would have thought he was, just Mr. Happy all the time. You would have never known that was Derek Jeter. If obviously you can recognize him, but it's almost as if you needed some kind of subtitle and or identifying, thing that they would put up to let you know it was Jeter, right? He was having a great time. All right, speaking of great time, the big board coming up with the professor. I'm Jeff DeForest. He's Mike Lubie Lubitz, South Florida Live. Tell your friends. Things are growing and expanding. Jesse says you look good on the tube here. He was watching yesterday. Saw the Visser Mama interview and said that was brilliant. And he asked me how many euros I put up in smoke there at that casino. Which exactly. I think it was the tune of $240, which probably cost me $350.
Exactly.
Stang went right out the door, man. As hot as she's been on the slot machines, she came up. I hadn't even gotten my drink yet, and she was like, "Can we go?" I was like, what? We just took a boat like an hour to get here. What are you kidding me? Fausto da Gama couldn't have found this place. All right, we're coming back with the professor here on the show. Hialeah Park, great place to go. If you're going to wager in style. Do it in class environments like they have set up for you, whether you're betting the horses in the champion simulcasting room. Maybe you're playing some poker. That'll be great. I think Jess Mann's going to play in New Orleans. And, of course, the casino itself has all your favorite Vegas-style games. And they're machines that pay. I'll say this. I mean, thank you for the comp rooms, Harrah's in New Orleans, but I haven't had, and neither has the Mustang, much luck on the machines there. They seem to be, and that's why it's such a pleasure to walk into a place like Hialeah Park, where you know they love it when you win a jackpot. It's great. Get a player's card when you come in the door, and that'll give you all kinds of entitlements, and it's just absolutely fantastic, the treatment that you get, whether you're a player's card holder or not. But why not take advantage of the generous opportunities that you have for free play and discounts on food and entertainment and all the good stuff that comes along with being a card-carrying player at Hialeah Park. And if you have a card from other casinos, that it says, hey, I'm Diamond Stud, you'll be installed at that status right away at Hialeah Park. But whatever you were in some other casino situation, they put you right in there. It's absolutely great. So inquire about that as soon as you get in. And then, of course, you can look up all of the activities at HialeahPark.com, arrange for special parties there. Really, really a great, multifaceted entertainment facility, among the finest that you'll find anywhere in the world. It's beautiful, Hialeah Park. All right, Professor coming up in just a minute. Then the Gambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo, joins us here. And we had solicited at one time on the radio when we were going to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, good spots to go in New Orleans. And we had a lot of great suggestions, all of which turned out to be worthwhile. So we'll see. Mayo, he sneers at tourist places. He thinks ACME sucks, which I don't know, Mike. I don't know what went wrong with you there, but everybody loves it, including Louisiana Tom. The guy has a food truck, world-renowned, cooking Cajun stuff. And what was the first place he put down? ACME. Good place.
There you go.
Professor knows New Orleans food, too, so we'll get into that.
We'll talk to him about it.
All right, coming back with that in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:53.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
This has been great because as cold as Jersey Kyle has been with his degenerate stimulus package horses, this man has been on fire with Australian rules football to the point where people are calling him Crocodile as he joins us here on the show. The Crocodile himself, the professor, now 14-8 in documented picks on Australian rules football. Professor, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Defo. In fact, not only am I 14-8 and picking Australian rules football, I am 6-0 in Australia's favorite national game. Is this or is this not a night?
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, this has become a highlight of our week here, and I always look forward to having the professor on the program for his handicapping prowess, number one. But now for the big board, and he comes in with the use of props for those of you that are viewing
mocking
this.
You.
Yes. The complete works of what? Edgar Allan Poe.
Allan Poe. At least it's witty.
What? The Raven Nevermore? Is this like a tribute to Saragossa? What are you doing there, Professor?
He's mocking you for every time he's supposed to come on. You end up tangenting 3 times, and he sits there waiting while you look at the paper.
I'm glad he's educating himself with one of the great literary talents of all time.
At least with him, it's Edgar Allan Poe. With us, it's Tim Post.
Professor, how are you?
Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I understood we were having some reading time before the segment started. So. Just let me get to the end of this paragraph and we can start.
5 minutes in DeForest time while on the air is nothing. I mean, to consider. It's actually, we got to you early, I think, today.
We actually did.
How are you, Professor? What's going on, my friend?
And man,
I'm doing pretty well. By the way, for the record, yes, the fact that Banchero is a Duke guy is 100% part of my opinion because all Duke guys bust. Like, honestly,
yes,
not all. I'm exaggerating, but like 95%. I mean, Kyrie's good. Tatum's off to a good start, but they're the only 2 in like 30 years that have done anything. Yeah. I mean, Grant Hill, yes, and then Grant Hill, decided to go on the Duke plan of stealing money where, oh, yeah, let me sign this contract, but I'm going to injure my ankle on the way leaving the room.
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. Him being a Duke player is part of why I think he's a bust because Duke players bust. It's what they do. They've been, I mean, if you were going to give a grade for Duke stars under Krzyzewski, it would be like a D+, a C- maybe in terms of making in the NBA. They've pretty much been abject failures. So
even against Zion. Zion's played like a quarter of his games.
Zion's on the Grant Hill stealing money plan. Again, I think that does have to be considered when players from a program fail time and time and time again for a variety of reasons. I mean, the Jay Williams thing was kind of a fluke injury. The Mike Dunleavy thing, because who couldn't see a super skinny 6'9" white kid with no defensive skills not making it in the NBA? Let's make him the number 3 pick in the draft.
Didn't he hang around as like a scrub of some championship teams
I don't think
later?
So.
No,
not as far as. Oh, and by the way, I've never heard him actually say it. Jay Billis never won a championship at Duke. So if he's claiming that,
I haven't heard
not only is he lying about his participation, he's lying about them ever winning a championship.
What was this great team that he was on though?
Johnny Dawkins,
he made it seem like he was the main catalyst there.
He was there with Johnny Dawkins and Tommy Amaker and Mark Aller. They went to the Final Four and they lost to Purvis Ellison, who was a freshman at the time at Louisville.
Exactly.
I was never nervous, Purvis Ellison. Julian, one of our big fans and a big fan of the professor and the big board, says R.J. Barrett. What about R.J. Barrett, who
I'm not
showed
sure
signs of life last
year?
Really did. Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd go bust quite yet, but let's just say I would say he's kind of trending in that direction.
Yep.
I mean,
trending towards bust. You think
he was a 3rd pick?
I mean, he's the number 3 overall pick. He was the number 1 high school recruit, even ahead of Zion, and he's sort of trending towards volume scorer guy. I don't think you necessarily are hoping for volume scorer guy when you take a guy that high. You're hoping for a year after year all-star.
Seemed like a little bit of a concession because I didn't think R.J. Barrett was all that great at Duke.
No.
He didn't impress me as being a guy that would be the number 3 pick. But, I mean, maybe that was somewhat the case this year. What did you make of this whole business we were talking about? Will the NBA get sued for putting out that it was a certainty that Jabari Smith was going to Orlando, number 1?
Your timeline's actually a little bit off.
All right.
Banchero was plus 300.
Don't let it ruin a good story, though.
Thank you.
Banchero was talking about?
Like plus 300 over the weekend. Then he took a big drop. A bunch of money came into him, mostly fueled on a rumor that Orlando and Houston were going to swap picks, and Houston wanted Banchero. Then he started to creep back up a little bit odds-wise, but he was actually going off closer to even money by the time they rolled around. But the comments from the sports books are basically that all the sharp money came in on Banchero, and they all got clobbered.
Wow.
I'm assuming, honestly, like most sort of screwy draft and prop bets, this was a very low limit max bet. It was probably difficult to get more than, even if you were one of FanDuel's like super valued players, it's probably difficult to get more than say $500 down on this.
Oh, really? That little? Okay.
Yeah, online they understand it. Well, we have actual experience with this. Super Bowl probably like 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, with the Katy Perry thing.
Perry's doing the halftime show. Defoe's out in Vegas, and he calls me up and say, "Ken, we need to get $100,000 down on Katy Perry's first song being Roar at the halftime show."
Inside information.
Can I say the name? Somebody gave us inside
information. We talk about footy.
Footy wanted me to bet 10 grand on it. I think I had that in my pocket while I was in the sports book in Vegas.
Seen the rehearsal.
Yeah.
No, Footy's friend.
His friend was there. Yeah.
And so I go, and at the time I was a member of like 8 different sports books.
Yes.
But you could only get like $100 down at each
right.
book. And I'm not Floyd Mayweather.
But we ended up getting down on that, like $100 with the greatest
inside
info ever.
I think between the 3 of us, we got like $600 in or something.
Oh, okay.
Like that. It was.
I told Footy we couldn't get it done.
Well, again, we had to go to like 6 different places to play it.
It takes 6 weeks to collect. Also, I mean,
they put very tight controls on these kind of bets.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense because I don't know why I was assuming when I see this stuff that people are so enraptured and caught up in prop bets that everybody's just sending it in on all of this stuff. Because you watch these shows. Lubie mentioned one that was on last night when you guys were doing the trivia at Landlubbers, and actually, I don't know. I was flipping channels one day and I see this thing on ESPN. It must have been like ESPN 3. Where all they were talking about was gambling the entire time, and the guy's best bet was that Klay Thompson would be under 19.5 points when he was throwing all of those bricks up there in the first couple of games of the series in the finals, and he said this is it, it's a sure thing. And of course that night he went for like 27 and led the team in scoring. But I was thinking, really, people, look what happened. I mean, to the world. You like to keep it simple, but now you can't just bet a game anymore. You're betting whether or not this guy is going to make 4.5 free throws in the ball game. It's crazy.
Okay, and I don't like to do this because I don't like to really talk shit about people who handicap. I let everybody sort of do their own thing. Yeah. But let's talk about what the industry is becoming.
All right.
Since the legalization in the United States and the widespread use of all these apps, there is incredible competition to gain followers and customers. And so the industry is using, age-old techniques, basically. They are going with sex sells. They are going with people with large social influence in terms of social media. And a lot of these people don't know shit about sport.
Yeah. Probably never gambled in their lives.
Girls who 20 years ago would have been doing cam modeling or pornography.
Weather.
or things along those lines. It's dudes who were, the good-looking sports guy on Channel 12, Dubuque, Iowa.
Yeah.
Things like that. People who have like 50,000 Instagram followers for reasons I can't quite comprehend because all their pictures are of food or of their outfits or whatever. And honestly, it's very easy to sound like you know what you're talking about with a lot of these prop bets.
Sure.
So handicapping those kind of prop bets has become sort of the go-to for a lot of these people because you can do appearances on shows like this. Lubie and I we're talking about a girl who used to do, I think she was on your show once, but used to do the 5 Reasons thing.
Yeah, 5 Reasons.
She's a boob model, basically. But it's very easy to look up, Yu Darvish is averaging 6.4 strikeouts per start, and tonight his over-under on strikeouts is 5.5. So we're going to pick Yu Darvish to go over because 6.5 is more than 5.5.
I just scored here because I bet Kvitova was going to double fault on that particular service attempt.
Anyway, honestly,
and I was getting 6-1. Yeah.
Here's the thing: the prop bets are so popular right now with the industry because it's very easy to be a handicapper and make it sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
With some of these prop bets, and
no doubt.
And a lot of gamblers, frankly, are stupid. Number one, and number two are horny guys watching the internet and want to impress these young women who won't give them the time of day anyway and don't realize they're being paid by your online casino. So that's what's going on, and that's, in my opinion, why the prop bet thing has become very popular, even though A lot of them are just monstrously stupid. You've got people betting on over under 0.5 assists for the eighth guy on the Clippers bench. You've got people
Udonis Haslem minutes.
Will so and so draw a walk tonight? Like, I mean, a lot of these things are just phenomenally stupid bets, but they're easy to make it sound like you know what you're talking about because it's taking one simple number and comparing it to the prop and assuming there's no other factors involved.
All right, very good. All right, you ready with the big board? I mean,
I am not. We got a couple of things to talk about.
Okay,
first.
cool.
Plays.
We do have a couple plays, and that's the second one I want to get to. But you had the lovely and talented on yesterday.
Yes.
And we all adore her.
Yes.
But she was on here making excuses for Boston sports once again. And went very
Please don't take issue with this.
But very philosophical and pointed out that Boston sports fans dread failure because of a Calvinistic sense of guilt. I would just like to point out that if one is a true Calvinist, you believe that the only way to atone for sin is through punishment. And if you truly believe that, then Boston sports fans, not just you, but generations to follow of you, have significant atonement to pay for your last 20 years of cheating. Because everything you've done for 20 years has been what the Calvinists, it's not degeneracy, but perversion. It's been sin. And you shouldn't win for a long, long time. And you should have to deal with very harsh things because of it. And I would say much of that is true, as you noted earlier, for the city of Tampa Bay, who absolutely deserve to get screwed by the refs. I could not have been happier to see that happen to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that is what you people deserve for putting fucking salami on a Cuban sandwich. That is the most disgusting thing I have ever heard. And you deserved for the Bucks to be the Bucks for 40 years. And now you deserve for the Lightning to be punished. And everything else with the city of Tampa Bay. And by the way, I heard you mention her. Ybor is pure white trash.
Yeah.
Ybor is like the worst party spot. I would rather go hang out at that Universal Studios thing in Orlando than spend another second in Ybor City.
Ybor City, yeah.
Ybor City minus, honestly, just cancel all the other bars and put up like 40 Hooters all on a giant strip. That's all it is. It's just like they constructed an entire section of a city dedicated to Hooters.
My good friend there, Freddie Pacheco, the fight doctor, wrote a book about it. I think it was called Ybor City Chronicles. So
he probably loved Hooters.
Yeah, he loved it, man. He loved it. All right, let's get to the big board.
Or play. He has plays. He has plays.
We're going to bounce.
Plays. Okay. Yeah.
Tomorrow, College World Series starting Oklahoma versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss has been the strongest pitching team, particularly among their starters up to this point. Oklahoma has been probably the best offensive team. I'm taking Oklahoma because I think the Sooners are really well suited for this ballpark. They're not a home run hitting team. They're really the only team in the field that doesn't rely on the home run. They get on base a lot. They run. I think in this new big ballpark where the wind seems to blow in every day, they've got the best offense suited for this new stadium. By the way, I miss Rosenblatt. I miss the 13-11 games where
I like that place.
Both teams had to exhaust their whole bullpen. Yeah. I'm not crazy about this new stadium, but I think the Sooners are better suited to it. So Oklahoma plus 110 tomorrow night is our first pick.
Yeah, I loved those games at Rosenblatt. It was a little weird because from the perspective of calling a game, you would have a little bit of difficulty, calling a home run. It was hard to get a depth perception on where the ball was going, but you could just assume, like John Sterling, that everything in the air was a home run. It was great. Every now and then, the second baseman would catch one, and you'd have to go, well, you know what? It looked like that thing was going out. But it was fun. It was a very kind of, the place had just a good feeling to it also with the fans there. And I don't know if the new stadium's the same, but yeah, we do miss all of those home runs. All right, so you have one play. You have something else now also?
And then we have the USFL.
Okay.
We got New Jersey's laying 4.5 and Birmingham laying 4.5. They've been the two best teams all year long, so it makes sense in the playoffs that they would have near identical line. I actually think, despite the fluky win in week one, Birmingham's been the better team throughout the course of the season. I would definitely take them over Philly. Actually, not Birmingham. I think New Jersey's
New Orleans. Yeah.
I think New Jersey's actually the better team, despite Birmingham's been the best, the undefeated team throughout the course of the year. I think New Jersey's a better team. I do like them laying the 4.5. I do not like Birmingham, who's been a team relied on comebacks most of the year with the 4.5. New Orleans, probably the best offensive team, but they've played with turnover problems most of the year. But in the last 3 or 4 weeks, seem to really correct that. I wouldn't be surprised to see New Orleans cover the 4.5 and maybe even win the game straight up. So I look for an upset in the second game, the Birmingham-New Orleans matchup, but the first game, definitely liking the New Jersey Generals, which should be very painful to Donald Trump to watch the New Jersey Generals win a USFL title, which he never managed to do as the owner.
Well, he did get him the $3 though when he decided to go ahead and sue the government. So sure, that went a long way.
Had a lifelong friend in Herschel Walker, who's turned out to be exactly the kind of sane, brainy reference you want to have by your side at all times.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, are there odds on indictments yet? Did anybody post anything?
I mean, not to be cruel, but I think the better bet with Herschel Walker is the minus 140 on does he actively have CTE?
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, who doesn't think he has CTE?
That could be. Well, what about that Jim Jordan? Did he play football also?
No, he was a wrestler. You can tell by the cast. And then as a coach in Ohio State, was one of the coaches who oversaw a scandal where the team doctors were raping Ohio State wrestlers.
Yes, well, I mean, that can be overlooked.
There's an interesting documentary HBO's making, produced by George Clooney, about that.
All right, very nice. That'll be
interesting
to see.
And a big shock that he's apparently a Barstool sports fan with that background.
It wouldn't dissuade anybody from voting for him, though, in the state of Ohio.
Apparently not anybody in Ohio.
Yeah. Marco's still getting elected.
Yeah, exactly.
Here in Florida. All right, we need to get to it. The big board here, the professor's big board for today. I don't know where you're going with it. I thought you were going to introduce some kind of literature. It sounds like you've been reading a lot, in addition to the Edgar Allan Poe thing at the beginning. But, I mean, with the philosophical approach there from a religious angle, on somehow denouncing Boston sports. So where do we go this week?
Well, I was very glad to hear you say earlier in the show that everybody understands this is all in fun, and we're not intending to ridicule or anger or troll, as they would say on the internet, anybody, because that means I can take things further than I have been in the past. So in the spirit
that might
of
be a little frightening. Yes,
we had a landmark thing happen yesterday. And that is, of course, the 50-year celebration of Title IX, which
very good.
Maybe unintentionally, if you go back and look at the original language, but really opened the floodgates for 50 years of a celebration of women's sports. And we're going to celebrate that a little bit today here on the big board and mark the occasion. We are a day late, but today we have the big board of Title IX, 50 years of equality.
Question
mark.
Surprised there's only one question mark there.
Celebrate because there's been a lot going on in terms of women's sports and the subject of gender and what should go on in sports.
Yeah.
Over the last year and change, it's become quite political, which we do try to avoid in the show. But when it plays into sports, sometimes we have to talk about it. And of course, there's a lot of talk about men's and women's sports, and the funding behind, should there be more interest in women's sports? Should there be more money involved in women's sports? We've had that with the U.S. women's national team, WNBA currently going on it. So we're going to start with number 5 and just sort of look like equality in sports. And for one, pretty apparent in swimming, men and women, not so much equality. For those of you unfamiliar with this, and I'm not sure how you could possibly be unfamiliar with this, because it's been everywhere. The biggest story probably in the history of women's swimming is Penn swimmer and transgender athlete Leah Thomas, who was not exactly dominant when she was a male swimmer at Penn. I don't really follow that much of Ivy League swimming. I'm sure it's on television somewhere, but I've never figured out how to bet on it, so I haven't paid it that much attention. But I know that Penn is not like Stanford or UCLA or Florida down here or Auburn. They're not exactly a swimming powerhouse. So the fact that when he was a man, he was sort of low-tier level at Penn leads me to think, as male swimmers go, he wasn't that good. And now he is by far and away the best women's swimmer on the planet, which makes me think when it comes to swimming, equity, equality, not so much.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, this is years after Dr. Richard Raskin became Renee Richards, which seemed to be, somewhat acceptable, much more so than this, because this, woman now has been blowing out all of
Yeah,
the
it's not even close.
competitors, even though, many of them were like world record holders. This Leah, is it Thomas, has become like
Thomas.
the, is beating like Katie Ledecky by like 20 yards in a 50-yard race.
There you go. Again, so makes you wonder how much progress we have really made under Title IX when the best women swimmers in the world can't beat a pretty below average male swimmer. It doesn't sound that equal to me.
All right, that's one way of looking at it. That's number 5. All right, where are we going from there, Professor?
Of course, again, this week, particularly yesterday, we've had a celebration of all things women in sports. You had the lovely and talented Leslie Visser on. So it's not just been athletes, but also women in the sports media. And we, of course, adore Leslie and think she is perfectly deserving to be the first woman in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And there's a lot of great women in sports media out there. But there is one who has not been talked about at all during this celebration. And I find it very curious because I would say in terms of on-field media, she has the biggest job a woman has ever had in American pro sports. And this is another rivalry between the genders, which maybe is sexist and maybe it's not particularly fair, but that is Susan Waldman versus quality announcing. Oh my God, Roger Clemens is in George's box. I don't know why Susan Waldman hasn't been discussed at all these last few days. Is it that women are actually also embarrassed about Susan Waldman? I mean, they should be, but I would find it to believe, given, the usual conversation, I would find it surprising if they are. Look, here's the thing with Susan Waldman. I actually think somebody hired Susan Waldman for that job with the intention of burying all women announcers forever. Like, I would argue that having the Yankees day-to-day job is a much bigger job than Jessica Mendoza on Sunday Night Baseball. And people have a misreaction to Mendoza. She has her fans. She has her detractors. Waldman, pretty much universally despised by all. Again, I think even women are embarrassed about Susan Waldman. I think this was a plot against female announcers. I think somebody in the Yankees organization was like, okay, we're going to hire a woman. The biggest job a woman has ever had. Let's hire a woman with the voice of a cartoon character and a speech impediment that makes it look like she's going to partner with Lou Holtz on the Fox animated series.
Why not just get Barbara Walters to do it?
Yeah, exactly.
And who, by the way, doesn't know anything about anything.
Yeah. Well, and then they paired her with Sterling, which is even more amazing.
Exactly. Let's get an idiot with Marge Simpson's voice and a speech impediment and make that the first woman to have a huge on-field announcing job in Major League Baseball.
Who hired her? Steinbrenner? I mean, I wouldn't put it past George to try to sabotage women for the future. Yeah. Making sure that everybody knew it was a bad idea.
Again, I find it very curious in this whole celebration of Title IX. I didn't see Susan Waldman anywhere yesterday. I never heard her now. She might be the only woman in sports media who didn't get an interview or a celebration. Like, everybody just kept quiet.
Right.
Oh, yeah. There's Susan Waldman, too.
Forget about her.
Excellent number 4 position there on the big board today, Susan Waldman.
And we're looking again at some of these women who are breaking barriers. And this one broke a huge barrier a few years ago when a number of NBA teams expressed interest in giving her a tryout in camp just to see if she could compete because physically she's closer than anybody else has been. But she lost a pretty important matchup recently. So continuing our conversation about equality and the battle of the genders in sports, we've got Brittany Griner versus the Russian police.
Oh, jeez.
Look at that picture.
Low blows, coming right and left here.
Number one tip for Brittany Griner. If you are a 6'9" black woman in Russia, you're not going to be inconspicuous. Don't try to smuggle things.
Yeah.
You're going to attract attention. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there's probably no other 6'9" black women in Russia. You were probably the only one.
Probably true.
You're going to kind of stick out like a sore thumb.
Yes.
And number two, what I'm going to say, not just to Brittany Griner, but to everybody in general, stop trying to bring weed through airports. You can plop me in any somewhat civilized place anywhere on the planet, and I can find weed in 2 hours.
Yes. Right.
Like, you could drop me in the middle of a place. You could drop me in the middle of Kyiv in the Ukraine, where they're actually having a war right now, and I bet I can find 3 weed dealers on the internet within 2 hours. Weed dealers don't even try to hide it anymore. They put it on Twitter and Facebook.
You drive to their homes.
Stop trying to sneak weed through airports. It's the dumbest thing ever, and particularly in a country that doesn't like Americans very much.
No.
So again, Brittany Griner going to compete with the NBA. Brittany Griner can't even compete with the Russian police dog. How's she going to handle?
That's great.
All right. I'm almost afraid to continue. Yeah.
Brittany Griner, as we noted last week, white girl with a weed card. Got to be in the entourage. Going over to Russia. Russian white girl with a weed card. Even better idea.
Have somebody meet you at the game. That would be my theory.
Again, anywhere in the world where there's other people, you can find a weed dealer in 2 hours.
Yeah.
But why are you trying to sneak it through an airport?
No, and they don't look kindly on this. I mean, just short of the death penalty, I think, for having a couple of weed cartridges, which aren't even that effective anymore. Does anybody really vaporize weed anymore? I don't think so.
Yes, I think people do. But again, you're not trying to smuggle it through an airport. And again, particularly when you're a 6'9" black woman in Russia.
Remember when that first became
popular?
You're going
to attract curiosity.
Remember when you could first start smoking vaporized weed? It didn't really affect me, like other forms of marijuana have. But you thought you were so cool because you would just light this up in a restaurant, and
Yep.
It was like, whoa, man! Well, we may as well, be, somewhere, in Holland.
Defo, I've personally seen you eat like 7 brownies, where one had everybody else in the room hallucinating, and not be affected.
He's driving a car.
Not be the right, you might not be the right choice.
When's this stuff going to kick in? Exactly. Meanwhile, you're blasted out of your mind. Yeah. All right, that's number 3, Griner versus Russia.
And we've had a little fun with it this today, and the rivalries between men and women. But there's one team, a women's team, everybody knows you can't ridicule, you can't make fun of. They are the greatest women's team in history. And that, of course, is the U.S. women's national soccer team. And I don't know if you saw this, but Megan Rapinoe, who's still sort of like the unofficial mouthpiece for the team, came out and had her opinion on the whole transsexual participating in women's sport, and said, I'm paraphrasing here, something to the effect of, this is a life and death issue. I don't know what study Brittany Griner has, not Brittany Griner, Megan Rapinoe is referring to there that indicates that transsexuals are less likely to commit suicide if they were, and finished it with, and your high school girls volleyball team isn't that important in the big picture.
All right.
I find that a somewhat curious statement from a woman who refuses to acknowledge that the U.S. women's national teams not only lost, but got demolished by an under 15 boys team during training for their last World Cup.
I did not know that.
Yes, and they not only lost, they lost 5-2.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
They got buried by this team. And some of our other teammates have even commented on it and sort of tried to play it off as it's not that serious. We weren't that intense in the match. It wasn't full training. Megan Rapinoe refuses to acknowledge it even happened, despite the fact that there were a number of press.
Is she a Trump supporter also?
I don't know.
The other way,
but yes,
an
under 15 team for the FC Dallas, who, by the way, isn't even like a top-tier MLS team. So it's the under 15 team for a sort of middle-tier MLS team. Not only beat the U.S. women's national team, but absolutely demolished them. So again, equality with Title IX, not so much.
Yeah, they got their money. I mean, equivalent of the men, but do we even have a men's team in soccer?
Yes,
we have a men's national team?
Yes,
yes, we have it.
Where do they play?
And if they played the women's team, they'd probably win 30-0.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, who was that guy that had the Lexus?
By the way, we're terrible at it.
He was the only guy that anybody knew. He was on the U.S. men's soccer team.
Landon Donovan?
Yeah, Donovan, Landon Donovan. He ended up in the MLS, right? Landon Donovan.
Yes,
he wasn't good enough to play at Europe.
Couldn't play overseas.
Yeah, but he would have kicked the crap out of the women, is what you're saying. Landon
Absolutely.
Donovan.
Oh yeah.
Very good. And we had some guy that lived in Florida that was from South Florida, a black guy that was, fairly talented athletically. But he never
the kid
scored.
with the Haitian name, and I can't remember. I'm blanking on it. Yeah, he wasn't actually that good either.
Altidore, was that?
Yeah, there you go.
Jose Altidore, yeah.
Yeah,
he was in Europe for like 5 seconds. He stunk on ice there too.
And who was the redheaded guy that was with the
Alexi
national
Lawless.
team when they were good? Yeah, Lawless. He's all right. I like that guy.
Okay.
He was entertaining. But I mean, if you're going to watch soccer, that was about as entertaining as it got, watching this guy's red hair flying around like Bill Walton.
And that takes us to the number one spot on the big board.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is the big win for the ladies. And that is the Battle of the Sexes, won by Billie Jean King, who was in their prime, against a 55-year-old guy who looks like Mike Myers playing Austin Powers.
Well, and he also was into his bookie for like $250,000. It came out later.
And then, here we go. This is the theory I studied on Outside the Lines, where they came up with some pretty compelling evidence that on top of everything else, Bobby Riggs did, in fact, tank the match to pay off gambling debts to the Tampa mob.
Right.
But we circle it back to Tampa and being a city full of terrible people who deserve to get screwed by referees. Who, on top of everything else, destroyed the biggest moment in the history of women's sports when Billie Jean King triumphed against an old man who was throwing the match to pay off gambling debts.
Unbelievable, yeah. I mean, if you watch that match, too, I mean, it's painfully slow. I mean, considering
Of course it was painful. Well, look at Bobby Riggs. He's got bigger breasts than Billie Jean King.
Yeah, he was awfully happy when he lost, wasn't he? I mean, it's like he got his life back when he lost. He couldn't have enough disparaging things to say about women in general as he was pumping this thing up. A master, I mean, Don King, like promoter. And, then when he lost, he leaps across the net there into the arms like he was Yogi Berra, jumping up and leaping in the arms of Don Larson. Man. Unbelievable.
Exactly.
Anyway. So that is our big board of celebrating 50 years of Title IX.
Yeah.
And equality in sports.
You set Title IX back 50 years. Maybe 51 prior to its existence. I would say this because my recollection of the early stages of Title IX, I was covering high school football in Fontana, California, and they were deathly afraid that this was going to ruin sports. And I don't know that it's really taken that much away from the men's sports program. You lost a couple in the beginning on the college level where they had like a boxing team at Syracuse.
I mean, I think anybody who's ever had to sit through one of those NCAA tournament women's games will tell you it did indeed damage sports very bad.
Do we have to issue disclaimers here?
I don't want him changing anything.
All right.
Yeah, she's a friend with Waldman. She's friends with Waldman.
I'm not talking about like one of the final four
Waldman's
games.
a great opera singer, by the way.
She's a legendary opera singer.
It's like a Jim Neighbors type of thing.
And she's very erudite. And
well, okay, they're friends. I noticed she listed like 14 women's sports announcers yesterday. Yes. One of them was not Susan Waldman.
Exactly. That's so funny. It's true.
My theory being that even women are embarrassed by the performance of Susan Waldman.
I can't believe it, John. He caught it at the wall. He caught it at the wall. Oh my God! Roger is in George's box. What could this mean, John?
I don't know.
I mean, honestly,
there's a home run by.
Can't you picture her and Lou Waltz being like a cartoon couple on Family Guy?
New York sports radio in general, man. I don't know, man.
It's just classic.
Great. That's a Yankees organization, and this is their broadcast team.
Yeah, it's true.
Again, I agree.
It was better when Rizzuto was talking about the meatball parm he was going to have on the way home.
Sterling is clearly the strong one of the pair.
It's bad. Yeah, that's really bad.
I play ball. All right.
They're the best, Ken, man.
Professor, always a blast, my friend. And, you did it again. You carved them up
always,
pretty good.
Every week.
Thanks so much for being with us here on the show.
You guys have a great one. We'll see you next week.
We'll talk to you later. Thanks, Ken, man.
One thing we know, the professor is a big
every
fan,
week, man.
You can tell. I mean, he's a very discriminating guy when it comes to things, and tends to look at the dark side of stuff. But Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, man, and this is a connoisseur of food also. I mean, right up there, in my opinion, with the Gambling Gourmet. Mike Mayo, a longtime food critic for the Sun Sentinel, is going to join us here as the Gambling Gourmet in just a few minutes on the show. But Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, great place, great food and drink. Tremendous. You talk about a vibe there, an atmosphere. I have a good friend named Jeff Siegel. All he ever talks about is, hey, how's the vibe there? Of course, he's the throwback hippie that's stuck in a time warp, going back to Grace Slick. But nonetheless, I mean, that's what it's all about there, because you do feel like you've traveled through time somehow, like you were there in Dalton and found yourself a place in just a perfect utopia. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, right there on the water on the bayside. Fresh fish coming in every day. They get it off local fishermen and the mahi-mahi. I mean, literally, it's like almost is still jumping on your plate. Absolutely phenomenal. And the way they prepare their food. Lubie, is a very, very strict and discriminating critic of nachos.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And
I usually want to order them.
Those nachos blow. I mean, they look great when they bring them out there. It's like cotton candy, right? And then you get into it for a few minutes, and it's like, hey, could you bring me a bowl of chili to pour on this thing? I got 8,000 chips I don't want to eat.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Nothing. It's just
sour
chips.
cream. How about a little thing of sour cream?
It's just chips.
These are loaded, man. I mean, loaded up right down to the bottom, too. I mean, that's what Jimmy wouldn't have it any other way, because he loves his nachos. And that's just one of a zillion things you can have, including, and we have to get Mayo down there for that Italian fisherman pizza.
Yep.
Bottom line is this, man. You can stop at the Mutineer or at one of those gas stations in Florida City and get yourself some sandwich, put it in the microwave, or make a day of it, and even just a couple of hours, or just stop in for a quick bite and a drink. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway, and that's in the beautiful city of Key Largo, Florida. All right, we're coming back with the Gambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo, coming up in just a few minutes here on the program. I'm Jeff DeForest. He's Mike Lubie. Lubitz, South Florida Live, and we'll be with you till 9 o'clock Eastern Time here on the show. Back with more in a moment. Now that. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet. And a lot of people like to bet soccer. You are looking at the Euro.
I'm a soccer fan. I spent part of my junior year abroad at the London School of Economics and Political Science. How I ended up...
It's a little sophisticated for people that are on our show.
To be on
London School of Economics.
My career has taken strange
Yes.
and mainly downward turns, but it's okay. I'm very
You can live with it. Just be who you are. That's
I am living my best life.
Burying yourself with this show.
Betting my worst bets.
Buenos dias. The cafecito is piping hot. Why not enjoy it with Defo and Lubie? It's now time for the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz with you here on South Florida Live, and we welcome to the program. Do you detect, Lubie, are you with me? Is there a little bit of ink going in the hair now of a 56-year-old Mike Mayo? A little bit of ink?
No, he got a haircut. It looks clean. It looks good.
What do you think?
Like
Just for men? Oh, he cut
Mayo.
off the gray part, I guess. Wouldn't that still be in the roots? Because all of a sudden he looks a lot younger than he did just a couple of days ago when I saw him at that big announcement and the unveiling of the Best of Delray app, which already is a sensational hit. We welcome to the show the Gambling Gourmet Mike Mayo. Michael, how are you, my friend?
Good morning, Defo. Good morning, Lubie. It's amazing what a haircut, a bowl of yogurt, and a salad will do for you.
We saw that. Was that for real?
Yeah, Def. You've been proud. We were at Bubbles and Pearls yesterday.
Yes.
And they had for the lunchbox, which of course you can check out right here every day at 12 p.m. So everyone who watches us, we're involved there. So stay tuned to that. They asked, actually, it's the first time I've been doing now on-site shows with him for months now. He's never done this. You sort of lament him eating on air, right? They asked, do you want anything now? Do you want anything before the show? We can whip you up something.
Sure.
And he was like, I don't know. Let's wait till after the show. And I almost passed out. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
I figure
another universe
goes against every tenet of journalism and especially electronic media that I've ever been involved or been aware of.
In deference to Neki Mohan, who is a class act, along with Chef Josie at Bubbles and Pearls yesterday, I figured I would spare them the sight of me spewing bits of food and particles while broadcasting.
You could have done some oyster shots or something.
Oh, yeah. Oh, believe me, later in the day. Did you see? I had a blast yesterday. First of all, we did the Visit Lauderdale lunchbox with Chef Josie and Marcy. That's her wife, and they run Bubbles and Pearls in Wilton Manors, and we did our weekly Visit Lauderdale, everyone under the sun, every dish under the sun segment there. We had I love that place. I gave it a rave review when I was the food critic for the Sun Sentinel back, maybe it was like 2017. The place has been open 7 years, but I hadn't been in there since before the pandemic, and they've spruced the place up. They finally got low top tables in, and that was like my biggest beef. I don't know about you, Defo. Do you like?
I don't like the high
places
tops.
that have,
my mom.
I get a little wobbly.
You know me with the knees. They're both shot at this point. So
they
I
actually
don't like them. It's
and God bless Josie, and they actually listened. They said that was one of my biggest things. It wasn't the most comfortable place before, but now they've put in these low top tables. And anyway, hadn't seen them in a while. They were like, we started talking about, places, what's new in town. And I was like, have you been to the new Even Keel yet? Because they are friends, a lot of mutual chef friends. And they were like, no, we place and we didn't love it because it was too big. I said, you got to check it out. And they were like, what are you doing now? They said nothing. We went over to Even Keel yesterday. We had an after party.
Nice.
And we were doing oyster shots, and we did a dozen oysters, and we had the usual gambling gourmet feast. And yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. And then I went in with my daughter last night to Bubbles and Pearls, and we had a very healthy dinner too. I mean, again, Marcy is vegan now completely, and she whips up she has this vegan Caesar salad that she makes with kale, kale instead of the romaine lettuce, and she uses this fake shredded cheese that tastes really good, and she uses some instead of anchovies, she uses capers to get a little bit of a saltiness. It was good. And then we had like airline chicken. We had another dozen oysters. You're talking about you being afraid of the gout, my friend, in New Orleans.
Yes,
my wrists and fingers and toes
start
are
gargling with
today.
Intermethicin, that pill that takes it right away.
I've got it
it's
on
better than a
standby.
cortisone shot. That's for sure. All right. Many things happening in the world. I don't know if you got it. Yes.
I'm going to call timeout. First of all, did you get the list? I sent you the list
I
of
saw
my
this,
places in New Orleans.
just kind of came. I will say this, though. You with your face with the ACME. Your man.
I never said
Thomas,
I hated it.
Tanzanini,
You did make a face. You did make a face.
I made
says
a
that
face.
ACME is one of his go-to joints. The guy is the king of Cajun cooking.
Look, it's classic. Okay, I didn't mean to make a face. I just meant to say it's kind of like, very touristy and pop. I never said it sucked. It's great. It's been doing what it's been doing a long time. I mean, it's one of those perennials like Joe's Stone Crab, like Tropical Acres. We love all those places. I just wanted to send you a list and expand your horizons, get out of the quarter, and go to some of these maybe off the beaten track places that I sent you a list. I just texted it to you, and we can go over it for the fine folks. But the reason I call time out is because I wanted to just start on a somber note, and I don't know how much you discussed the death of Tony Siragusa.
We got into it yesterday.
Visser mom,
Visser with Leslie Visser. I
missed that part of the show, and I apologize. But mutual friends. Basically, I never met Tony Siragusa outside of like a football setting. I interviewed him, and when he was in town for the Super Bowl, and then when I was a sports writer, but I never saw him in a social setting. But obviously, our friend Joey Esposito at Cafe Seville was very close friends with him, and actually, I think the Goose was a partner there at Cafe Seville.
I believe they were roommates at Pittsburgh. In college. Yeah.
Okay, and I dropped by yesterday. I just wanted to pay a visit to before the restaurant opened. I figured maybe Joey would be around, and sure enough, he was. And I was able to, just kind of give him condolences and give him a big hug. Got a little bit more of the story. I don't know how much I want to share, but basically, they're doing an autopsy now, and that, basically he was on the couch, and his son was there up in New Jersey, and his wife was down here. They have two places, one in Jersey, and then they have a place in Jupiter. Yeah. And the wife and two of his children were here in Jupiter, and Tony and his son were up in New Jersey. And I guess, the thinking is that, he had a history of heart disease in his family. I think you mentioned this yesterday, that his dad died at 48. And, his son just, I guess Tony, like me, and he would just sleep on the couch a lot. He'd go to sleep, watching TV, and his son basically went to wake him up in the morning and wake up.
Geez, that's how it happened. Oh God.
And
that's hard to take.
And then his wife was down here. Joey arranged for his wife. They basically got a private jet to fly the family up to New Jersey. He said that he was with her for about 3 hours at Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport while they were waiting for the flight to get going. And it was just obviously a very tough scene. And he said that her phone was just blowing up with texts, and 800 different texts from people all over the league, owners and coaches and people, broadcasters, and just, expressing condolences. And Joey is obviously broken up, and he's going to be going up there for the funeral, I think, sometime early next week. But basically the nice touch of the story, and this is a horrible story, but is that Joey and his crew, they just bought two 2-year-old horses, and they bought a filly and a colt. They named the filly after his wife. I think they were calling it Sally's something or other for his
Sally's
wife.
Dream.
Yeah, Sally's Dream.
No, I bet that horse a few times.
Of course, Defo knows. Yeah.
No. This is a brand new horse. They're naming it another
I
Sally.
understand it.
Yeah. So this it hasn't been. They're 2-year-olds in training. They haven't raced yet, and they were looking for a name for the colt, and they hadn't come up with one last week, and now he told me they have their name. The horse, the 2-year-old colt, is named Siragusa.
Nice.
And they're hoping that next summer when he
Derby,
that he's going to turn into a runner. He's in the Joe Orseno barn at Gulfstream, and they're hoping. Their goal is for have him to be a decent 3-year-old, and then have him race and win next summer on the Jersey Shore at Monmouth, which is where
that'd be great.
Yeah, so
that'd be a fairy tale story there. That's fantastic. I mean, that's part of the beauty of sports in its way, also, where you wouldn't necessarily make the connection that this was a big deal, that Siragusa was bought by somebody that was as close to him as Joey Esposito. And hey, look, I mean, whatever vision and capital Siragusa put into Cafe Seville, he certainly made a top draft pick there, because.
No, I mean,
one of the best restaurants anywhere in the country, in my opinion.
And Joey was telling me, Tony, he was just down a couple of weeks ago. He was in there, had dinner a couple of weeks ago. I think I was in there the night before or something like that. But Yeah, so it's just
there's a big Pittsburgh connection there too.
Oh, yeah.
Including our man Charlie Partridge, who's not afraid
and
to,
Marino,
time with a recruit.
Yeah, Marino was tight, and Charlie Partridge is in there all the time. It's he's saying it was, I guess, a couple of weeks ago was Chuck Pagano, the former Colts coach, is down here a lot and comes into Seville. It was Pagano and Goose and Siragusa, and we're in there with Joey, and they it's a really it's a shocking loss, and it just makes you realize, like, live every day like it might be your last.
Did that prompt you to have the salad that we saw?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I mean, look, not to be
go the other way.
facetious, I do have a cardiologist. I try to get, look, in my line of work, I eat a lot and I eat too much. I know that. And Joey was telling me that, the Goose, he was under 300. He was back at 290. So, obviously the guy's carried a lot of weight over the course of his life. And that's one of the...
You didn't know if he had a microphone or a sandwich, that he was talking into. I mean, you would have thought he just got signed with Serena to do Subway sandwich ads.
And
by the way, I think Serena is refuting the whole thing that once you start eating Subway, like that whole Jared campaign, which unfortunately, ended very tragically for the marketing people at Subway, and in a disgusting fashion. But the whole concept that you could lose weight eating sub sandwiches really seems far fetched to me. I mean, it just does. I'm sorry.
It's a lot of bread.
And Serena is refuting that because since she signed up and started going to Subway, at least in these commercials, she's ballooned up. And as we were saying, she looks like the former heavyweight champion James Lights Out Tony at this point, which I think diminishes her chances of winning even one round at Wimbledon, although she showed some signs of life when she got out there in this doubles event that she was in Eastbourne.
Now, far be it for me to say anything, because I am the last person in the world who should be.
No, but you look good. I mean,
body shaming anybody.
Yeah, no, you look better than you should, Mayo. You really do, considering exercise and the amount of food.
I got to get back on the exercise wagon, because that's obviously a big key. Is just getting
your idea of physical activity, though, is playing poker. Which, let's face it.
I got to tell you, that gets the heart racing.
When I was watching Sammy Faja, he barely moved for like days at a time.
It gets the heart racing, that heartbeat when you get those pocket aces and you're all in against three players and you're trying to sweat the straight and the flush. The heart rate goes up to about 140, so that's like a workout, maybe. I don't know, but
you get beaten by two pair eventually, which really sucks.
So, anyway, R.I.P. to Tony Siragusa.
No, that was a good story. I mean, real good, and we'll root for this horse to do well, obviously, because we like Joey, and every now and then he'll tell you bet Orsino. You'll see Joey. He'll blow by you at the racetrack. Bet Orsino, everything you got. And then the horse will win, pay like $13.60, and you're thinking, why didn't I do it? I knew Joey knew what he was talking about.
It's like you and Luca Panici, except Joe Orsino actually sometimes wins. So
no, Luca, man, you can't.
Luca was on a nice streak.
I know. Actually, Luca, he did, and the thing is, his ROI, it's great. It's not like betting Irad Ortiz, where you're, every time he's on a 6 to 5. Right? No, he's going to be on a 28 to 1, a 30 to 1. So. All he's got to do is bring in one bomb every month, and you're good.
He got me out big time in a jackpot that I was in because I had been misled about the source of certain funds that came to get a little business project going. And unfortunately, they came from sources that were not really, liking the idea that patience was going to be a virtue in this business. So they wanted their money back right away. And just before they were about to put the order out to either kill me or the Polyman, Luca Panici gave me a horse. Now, these guys operated, and may they rest in peace, a bookie joint in New York out of some bar in Queens, or the Bronx. You might have even stopped in there in your youth when you were a kid and made a couple of wagers. But, they had everything going, so it was easy for them to get action down. And at the last second, my friend calls me and says, bet everything you got on Luca. So I pass this along. I happen to be on the phone, stammering and hammering about why I don't have this guy's money. Yeah. And I said, you know what? Let me go here for a second here. I'll call you back. But, bet everything you got on the 6, right? And he did. And Luca came in. He paid like $80-something on that horse. And, that bought us like another 6 months before eventually the pressure was ratcheted up again, and I eventually forked over the cash out of my own pocket.
You're going to be plunging today? Do you have time before you?
You know what? It's not looking good for that. There are always a few psychotic things in preparation for a trip that
how many bags? Like this is a 3-day trip.
This thing's crazy. This thing's
short. Yeah. Luby's
how many bags does she pack? I mean, this is.
We do one check bag because it's actually cheaper to check a bag than it is to take a carry-on bag.
Interesting.
So the one check bag is more than enough for for me. I mean, I need nothing, and so I'm going to throw my stuff in the one bag, and that's it. But it's only a couple of days, and Mustang has done a lot better over the time that we've been traveling and living, together as husband and wife here now. And we do like to travel, both of us do, and we really love casino destinations. But at the beginning, she just used to put the wheels on the dresser. Right, and we would wheel it right to the airport. And you're like, we're going for the weekend here to the Bahamas. What are you
then an
need?
extra bag for the hair blower and the dryer.
And then you're schlepping all kinds of stuff where they question everything that you're carrying. Yeah,
and then the medicine cabinet, all the toiletries and
everything. Right, yeah, and none of it fits in that little bin on the Spirit Airlines thing where you can't even fit your wallet in there. So naturally, right at the gate, you're getting whacked for like $400, and the bag. Remember they weighed the bags and it was like over 50 pounds. When we're coming in, we could have had 2 dead bodies, dissected in these suitcases. And because it ended up weighing like 140 pounds. This bag, I mean, just ridiculous. But now much better, I would have to say.
So are we going to talk New Orleans food, or did you have anything else on your list about like how the Lightning got ripped off and jobbed, and how NBA draft bettors? Here's the moral of the story, kids.
Yeah.
Don't bet on sports because you'll always get ripped in the end. That's it.
And you're talking to the wrong crowd here.
If you're betting on NBA draft pick order, you might have.
You are a sick degenerate, and that's exactly who we're talking to.
That's who we want. Hello.
Oh, right. That's our
Thank you, FanDuel, for your patronage. All right.
I like, man. Anything where there's human manipulation or deception is just bad. I like the horses because that's so pure.
Of course, it's on the level, sure. And there's no Saudi money in that either, right, Mr.
Wiggy Ramos? Wiggy Ramos has been taking all the blood money for years, and
he's doing pretty well. Well respected over there, right? He's even wearing one of those.
He's their top jock in Saudi
on his head. Yeah,
Wiggy Ramos used to be huge at Gulfstream. So
all right. So where is Mr. Sophistication, Mr. Gourmet, Mr. Food Critic? What is your first stop? I mean, when you're thinking about him, what is your first thought about an approach to New Orleans? What are you doing first on the first day? Where are you going? By choice.
That's a great question. It depends. Well, you know what? I sent you my list, and my list includes a lot of perennials.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not totally averse to touristy places because I do like Mother's for breakfast before the lines show up. I do like hitting one either Acme or Felix's across the street for a couple of oysters.
Both good, beer.
Yeah. If you're going to be in the quarter. I do love going to Cafe Dumond for a little bit of the beignets, and
I could live without that.
Honestly. I like okay.
The line sucks, but
overrated. Yeah, overrated.
The whole key to life, especially in New Orleans, is you zig when there's a zagging. Yeah, there's usually a line at Cafe Ole like in the afternoons or evenings, but if you go like really late or really early, then you could avoid it.
And I never buy anything at that like farmers market thing that's right there or whatever that is. It's not a farmers market; it's like a flea market.
And one of those places, never. One of those things,
not even a hat.
And you don't even think of it as Creole Cajun food, but there's a place called Port of Call. It's like on the far edge of the quarter, like on the other side, not towards where you're staying on Harris, but when you go on the other side to kind of more of the kind of real neighborhoods there. And I forget the name. It's on Esplanade. That's the name of the street. Esplanade runs right up into the Fairgrounds racetrack, so you should be familiar with that street.
You know what? I've gone to the Fairgrounds almost every time I've been in New Orleans, for at least some simulcasting, because I get the shakes if I don't bet the horses while I'm gambling at some point. But I never realized how I got there.
Right.
If that makes sense.
That's one of those things. When you're in New Orleans, you never pay attention.
I have no idea how they got there. Yeah.
And I never take Ubers or Lyfts in New Orleans because I love the New Orleans cabbies. I find them like
they're
they
cool.
have great stories, they have great information, and they'll sometimes just deposit you at a place that you didn't even ask for. But they'll say, "Hey, go check this place out," and you just like have yourself a blast. It's usually one of these great music clubs like the Maple Leaf or something like that. All right, so even though it's not New Orleans Cajun food, but this place called Portugal, which is on the Esplanade, and it's right around the corner from the end of Bourbon Street, practically. They're known for their like Bloody Marys and burgers, and they serve the burgers with a loaded baked potato instead of French fries. And my source in New Orleans says it's kind of gone downhill. It's been there a long time, but I love the joint. I love always stopping in there, and sometimes it's my first stop. I get a Bloody Mary and a burger.
All right, that wouldn't be my move, though. I mean, I'm going for some kind of
like
New Orleans fare,
gumbo.
Like, no, I mean oysters, red beans and rice, anything, something.
Etouffee.
Etouffee. Some kind of dish.
Yeah. So
what's the place the other day you said?
I like Mr. B's, along
Jambalaya,
that whole Canal Street area. There's that, Mr. B's, which is part of the whole Brennan factory. The Brennan family owns all these great joints there, including Commander's Palace, but that's, fancy dinner place. I gave you.
Would you go high end? I mean, my son's wife Kelly, she's a high end restaurant person.
I'd go high and low, and if she's never been there, go to Commander's
She likes
Palace.
the 5-star, that kind of stuff.
Commander's Palace, for those who have never been to New Orleans, is like a quintessential. Like you got to go there one time. So I didn't put it on my list, but I think for first timers who like that high end experience, and then there's the old ones in the quarter that are classic, the Galatoires and the Antoines. But Commander's Palace is an old house.
Commander's Palace. All right.
Commander's Palace. I'll send you that one too. My spot though is two of them, which are also upscale. Not upscale. I mean, you don't have to get super fancy. It's like fine dining. They have white linen tablecloths. One of them is called Brightsen's, and that our man Joe Casale, good friends with Frank Brightsen, who's been a longtime chef, and it's in a
he knows his way around that town. This Casale.
And it's again that's out on the outer edge, like they call it, like the I guess River Bend area, where you go all the way out along the where that St. Charles streetcar goes, and then it makes a turn. So Frank Brightsen has had a house there where he's run a restaurant, and it's really good food, and I would recommend that. And then the other place is called Clancy's, and that's like really kind of a locals joint, but it also has excellent food, and they have a great wine list, great cocktails. If you basically, it's tough to get on the weekends because it's just such a popular local spot that's been around a while, and they have their specialty is something called oysters and brie. It's kind of like a grilled oyster that they top with a little slice of brie cheese, and it melts, and you say, that doesn't sound like anything much. And I think they put a splash of like Pernod and some lemon. It is like one of their signature dishes, and it's like one of the things that when I go to New Orleans, I always have to go into Clancy's and get myself some oysters and brie, and then they have a full menu with like all kinds of veal, and then some of your classic redfish dishes. It's not like the jambalaya red beans and rice kind of joint. But
that's good. I mean, I like if a redfish piece is done well, I mean,
it's really good,
in some kind of creative way, it's always great. Yeah.
So, and then, my oyster joint also has barbecue shrimp, and it's an Italian restaurant too. And they do this thing called spaghetti with green onions. It's one of their signature dishes, and that's Pascale's Manale. Also,
you're strong in that place, man. You put it on every one of your lists.
I spent a day there. I had like the lunch of my dreams. It was like the restaurant was empty. The owner, third generation owner, a guy named Mark De Felice, me and him were just sitting around the bar talking about how the restaurant world has changed and how these kids, they all want to just become stars on Food Network, but nobody actually wants to put in the work in the kitchen. But I had a bowl of turtle soup. There's very few restaurants that serve proper turtle soup anymore. It skeeves some people out. The PETA people go crazy, but it's an old-time New Orleans delicacy. I had a bunch of oysters on the half shell. I had some barbecue shrimp. And he opened up a bottle of wine, and we just split a bottle of wine, and we talked all afternoon. So I've always got a fond spot in my heart for Pascale's Manale. It's a place that is old school New Orleans. They almost got wiped out in Hurricane Katrina. They had floodwaters halfway up the wall, but they were able to restore and rebuild, and that's the whole beauty of New Orleans. Also, they are resilient people. One of my favorite places.
Well, I'm hoping I don't end up shoving a beignet up the ass of my casino host after getting buried at Harris, because the food scene is good there, but you would hate to waste something, that was that tasty in that fashion. All right, Gambling Gourmet, we'll see you on the lunchbox today.
See you in a few hours, sir.
Good advice, yeah. So
we'll talk more New Orleans because now we got, we're not out and remote. We could talk about other cities today. We'll talk about other things.
It's a place that many people are familiar with. People that haven't been, usually say, hey, yeah, I'd love to go there just to try the food. And I don't think the food scene there disappoints, at all. You can pretty much go in any joint. There's a place I like called Oceana Grill. And, they don't necessarily do the grilled oysters, but they have so many other dishes that are great that, we'll probably stop in there at some point.
You can't go wrong. And everybody has their little spots and places they've been. And I tell you what, New Orleans now, it's like a perfect weekend getaway place. And to me, it's less aggravation and less hassle to get there now than trying to drive down to Key West some of these weekends. So, why not?
Couple hour flight. You get an hour earlier time change. So even though we're flying out at night, we're still there with plenty of time to, have to wait for the ATM machine to open back up again for us at midnight. And
I wish I could join you, but my man Dickstein, he's just a slave driver. I got to keep working on
it. Put this on your list, man. The Da dates. I think you really have to try.
I'm going to check it out.
The Da dates are what they're cranked up to be. I mean, absolutely delicious, fantastic. A taste sensation with many different flavors. All right, thanks, Michael. Always a pleasure, my friend, for joining us on this Degenerate Friday.
Check you out at 12.
We have other things going. Lubie and I are going to be doing a little after hours with Len Robbins, our special guest today. You can catch that on the Believe Network, BLEAV. And then, of course, you can find us on 5 Reasons. And what are the other places? We need people to spread the word.
Yes, spread the word.
About a live thing. Yeah.
Spread the word.
Right, just spread
Check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at SoFlyLive_, and our Facebook, the South Florida Live page, and our YouTube. Please, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe South Florida Live on YouTube.
All right, and you too, Julian. Have a great weekend. I like this cat, man. He's always putting positive messages up there for us, so it's always very encouraging. And you're welcome to go ahead and chime in on our message board as well on future shows. I won't be with you on Monday. Lubie's going to carry the load there, and that'll be a lot of fun. And then I'll be back on Tuesday from New Orleans, no doubt, with some stories. Hopefully, you have a big score on Dream Card.
Let's do it.
Dream Card. This is a wacko game that is only featured. I've never seen it in any other casino. But and they might have wheeled these machines out of there by now in Harris in New Orleans. But that's the only place I've seen it. Where, you every now and then a very kind of sensual female voice comes on and goes, Dream Card. And that means you're going to get the best possible card to complete your hand. No matter what it is. You got 2 3s, you're getting a third 3. You have ace, king, queen, jack of hearts. Boom. You're getting the 10, and you're making some money then. All right. We'll see you again later on Believe Network.
12 o'clock right here. Come check us out.
Catch Lubie on Monday. Don't neglect my man Lubie. When he goes it alone, man, he's really a pioneering force in the sports talk world.
That's me.
I'll have some games for you that he wants you to bet, and no doubt some exciting hot takes on a lot of different topics.
We'll get the Greek, maybe the Greek,
including the Heat draft. All right. Until next time, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks to Hialeah Park, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, all our fine sponsors here on the show, and we'll say have a great weekend as we leave you on that.
The time.
It's 9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.